I'm Svetlana from Cosplay, and today I'm going to share a project with you that almost didn't happen. Since 2003, I created at least one costume every single year, and some years were definitely more busy than others. You might still remember some super crazy projects like the Nergigante armor from Monster Hunter, Beidou from Genshin Impact, Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn, or the Valkyrie from Raid Shadow Legends. But 2025 was the very first year where I didn't finish even a single costume for myself in over 20 years. And I think 2025 was actually a year that many people struggled with, as there are just so many things going on in this world right now. My own personal issue was motivation, and I think this is something every artist goes through at some point as well. As a content creator, I mostly pay my bills by creating sponsored costumes and props for gaming publishers like Blizzard, Bethesda or Hoyoverse, for example, or I shared crafting tutorials and costume patterns with you, which you can find on cosplay.com or on our Etsy page. However, this doesn't leave a lot of space for personal projects, sadly.
One costume I really wanted to do though was Princess Leia, however with a dark twist. Plenty of people just mentioned I kinda look like young Carrie Fisher after doing my Aiden Versio cosplay a few years ago. So imagine a Princess Leia that wasn't raised on Alderaan but by her father. She joined the dark side, inherited Darth Vader's lightsaber one day, and eventually become a Sith Lord. Obviously, this costume was supposed to be an original design, and I did quite some research on different looks of Leia. The goal was to mix some design elements like Anakin's top armor from Clone Wars, adding Stormtrooper-inspired leg armor, and the loincloth from her slave outfit. First though, I wanted to start with a black tight bodysuit. This costume was also made only with leftover materials, and luckily I still had some thick and nice neoprene fabric laying around. At this point I want to mention that this footage is from May 24th. Sith Princess Leia was supposed to be a quick and easy project that should be done in 2 or 3 weeks. But I had to constantly interrupt it for jobs that would pay the bills instead. The suit was actually a pretty simple piece, even though it took me over a year to finish. And then I had to take another long break as Salata from World of Warcraft and Grace Howard from Zenless Zone Zero happened. I made some fancy swords from Honkai Star Rail, went to Japan, and then it was already the end of 24. Time flies. Next, I made Mauvika's sword, a pirate costume and a Fallout costume for my corgi Zelda, and finally the Skullcrusher from Doom the Dark Ages. These were all super amazing and fun projects, but it also meant no progress on my own passion cosplay. Then suddenly the inspiration hit me again in July 25. I collected some reference material, began drafting some shapes on paper for leg armor, and did my best to achieve the look of a stormtrooper. So I traced all pieces onto EVA foam, cut everything out, and glued all parts together. Afterwards, I smoothed out the edges, heat shaped the foam a bit, and added a few more details on top. The design is really plain, but I didn't want it to add more than those simple thick squares. I think it looked just right for the Star Wars universe. If you like the design, just download it from my shop, by the way. Now let's finish this part of the costume. To keep it fast and simple, I first applied around 4 layers of spray-on rubber, which made the foam more durable and ready for the upcoming paint job. And even though it was already black, I still had to cover the primer with a layer of airbrush paint. A little bit of silver scratches here and there, and satin spray varnish for the final shiny look. Okay, I was hooked. This looked already so good, and now I wanted to finish everything as quickly as possible. So up to the next step, the attachments. I grabbed here some thick faux leather and sewed a bunch of belts of around 4 cm thickness. So far so good. Now simply hot gluing faux leather onto foam doesn't work so well, so instead I sewed on a 2 mm piece of EVA foam onto each belt. The attachment then would work with Velcro tape. And with a little bit of contact cement, the belts hold perfectly onto the armor. After struggling with finding motivation and especially having enough time, getting to this step felt like an insane achievement I was super proud of. It's already hard enough to stick to a project for several weeks, but it becomes almost impossible if you have to constantly set it on pause. Now it felt like I activated my turbo boost and the next steps just felt like a breeze. Something on this design was still missing though, but I thought Leia's iconic loincloth from her slave outfit would be a perfect fit with the leg armor. I actually create all my hip belts from scratch using buckram and faux leather. This makes them super strong so they can carry all kinds of costume pieces. And with a little bit of velcro, the final belt was a breeze to open and close. Now you might mention that my choice of fabric looks a little bit like a curtain, and it's indeed curtain fabric. The whole costume was made completely out of leftover materials, and I just really like the texture and the weight of this fabric. Okay, the result looked a little bit silly with my dress, so let's try everything on this time. What do you say? I was super happy and on fire to finish the last pieces of this costume. Next, onto the armored color. As mentioned, I was inspired by Anakin's armor from Clone Wars, as I didn't just want to copy Darth Vader's style. There are plenty of ways of making armor patterns, but I think duct tape wrapping is still the easiest. Afterwards, I transferred the templates onto 5mm EVA foam, cut everything out, applied contact cement to the edges and connected everything piece by piece. Using Blender, Benny also helped me to get the pauldron patterns just right. I cleaned up the shape a bit, added some very simple details, and this was the result. Like the design, you can get it on Etsy or my website. Next step was priming and painting. I grabbed again my trusty spray can of gummy dip, applied 4 to 5 layers, added then black airbrush paint on top and brushed on super carefully some silver scratches here and there. And finally satin spray varnish. By the way, I actually finished most of these steps end of December 25, beginning of January 26. So yes, 25 passed and I didn't make a single costume for myself. No matter though, I had to finish Sith Princess Leia finally. There was still something missing though, and I thought a hood would be the final cherry on top. So I downloaded the pattern, traced everything onto my pretty curtain, pinned it together and finished the hood super quick and easy. What do you say? The attachment was really basic, but I often prefer it simple and functional instead of movie accurate or hysterically realistic. It's a cosplay after all. So far, so good. Last but not least, I've braided some leftover synthetic hair, grabbed a Darth Vader lightsaber replica I had laying around forever ready, and completed the costume with gloves and a blaster from my Iden Versio costume. I know, no Sith uses blasters, but there is so many images of Leia with a blaster, so I thought it would make sense. Costume complete. Now let's finally try everything on. While Benny set up our improvised studio with spooky red lights, I got my makeup ready. And again, I wanted to embrace Princess Leia and not a general Sith with spooky eyes, scars and dark markings. So I stayed pretty true to her original makeup. And this was the final look. I've tried to do some badass poses and look dangerous and fearful, and I was just so happy and proud about the result. Shooting a new costume is always incredibly exciting, and even though our setup was a little bit limited, Benny did an outstanding job on editing the final photos in Blender and Photoshop. And I finally finished Sith Princess Leia after working almost 2 years on her costume.
Thanks so much for watching, and I really hope this example shows you that you don't need to feel bad if you lose motivation during a project, if you don't finish something in time, or if you completely abandon something. That's completely normal and totally fine. At the end of the day, it's about having fun and having a great time, and you know, like, it's your hobby, your time, your money, so just enjoy it, don't force it instead. However, I'm really happy that I was able to finish my Sith Princess Leia at the very end. It was amazing, and I really hope you enjoyed the final result. And if you want to get into crafting yourself, as mentioned, check out our tutorial books or costume patterns on comicosplay.com or on Etsy. I also have plenty of tutorial videos, for example, how to make a beautiful hat for your next LARP event or like Ren Fair or whatever. It's super fun to craft. Or a project I'm very, very proud of. Check out how I made a Moika sword from Genshin Impact with over 300 LEDs. I'm so proud of this sword. Other than that, thanks so much to all our lovely Patreons for their amazing support, especially for super Patreons. You are awesome. And yeah, I think see you very soon in the next video. Like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and bye bye.